Well, hello, all of you out there in podcast land. I am your host, Rudrani Devi, for another episode of the Get Happy podcast. Hey, let's do this. And today I am thrilled. Did you hear me roll my R? I am thrilled. That's how thrilled I am to have Chutisa and Steven Bowman as my guests. Welcome to the show, you guys. How are you doing?
Great, thanks, Rudrani.
Great, thank you.
So thrilled that you could be here. Would you mind terribly, before I even get there, my favorite, they have so many books. I have three, but the one that I am re-enjoying now is Benevolent Leadership for a Better World. And you co-wrote that with Gary Douglas, the founder of Access Consciousness. It's his fault we're all here talking. And we're so grateful for him. So I know you've written several other books, and I aspire to be a benevolent capitalist, just like the two of you beautiful souls. Could you please tell our listeners a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Go ahead.
Well, Chutisa and I met when she was 17 and I was 18. And we got married 2 years later. We've been married now 45 years, I think it is, and we like each other. So we set up business, and then we forged different careers. I'll let Chutisa tell you about hers, but I was a very, very young CEO of quite a major organisation. Then went on to, CEOs of a few other organisations, was on a few boards. And then about 17 or 18 years ago, we decided, Chutisa and I said, hang on, we actually do like each other. Why don't we set up business together and create our life from that space rather than from the space of a career, because we'd been there and that was fantastic. So 17 years ago, we set up business together. We've now got 7 global businesses. We work from wherever we are in the world. And I was asked the other day where my favorite city was, and my answer was wherever Chutisa is. So that's sort of how we create. Darling,
What else is possible?
So unusual. Most couples can't say that, they love each other, but they don't really like each other. So do they really love each other? And what does love mean? And to do creationship, not just in your relationship, but in business as well. I am fascinated. And please say more about all of that.
It is, like you mentioned before that, it's about benevolent capitalism. Is that about 6 years ago, Gary and us were talking about what can we create that will generate something totally different in corporate world and business world, because both Steve and I have been working in corporate world for 25 years. And I started, ever since we met Gary, which is about nearly 20 years ago, I started generating different possibilities in the business world through conscious leadership. So I wrote a book about conscious leaders and conscious leadership about 15 years ago with Gary and Steve. And we introduced that to the corporate world, to the leadership in the world. And about 7 years ago, I said to Gary, there must be something totally new and different that we could introduce to the business world that allow them to function from totally different space, because most people misapply capitalism, a capitalist, as something bad, wrong, and terrible. And the fact is that there are a lot of capitalists who actually function from that space of greed, need, and scarcity. So the three of us came up with the idea: what if we could introduce benevolent capitalism into business world? And during that time, when we came up with that, we did during that time, it's called Google Hangout. I'm sure nobody actually remember what that was.
Oh my gosh, you just dated all of us.
So Gary and us did Google Hangout. The internet was pretty bad. And between us, the Google Hangout was hilarious. The quality of the recording. But we got the message out there that hey, if you truly want to make money and truly want to create something totally different as well, and use money to create greater possibilities, what if you could choose to function from a space of benevolent capitalists and embody and be, different possibility with your business?
Mhm.
So 6 years ago, the three of us did the class in Melbourne, Gary and us, called Benevolent Capitalism. And we had a lot of people coming from all over the world. And that's when we first met David Kubes, who's
Thank you.
now our partner. And, David Kubes and us met, and he immediately received
He got it right off.
what benevolent capitalism actually is. Most people, still sort of, how could you use the two words? The two words they don't go together, and all those sort of things. And David said, that's exactly what I have been looking for. And, David came from socialism society. So for him to actually receive that was just like, wow. If he could receive that from the, but David is different anyway. He's not truly socialist.
He's a bad socialist.
I actually, in my book, Choosing Happiness, which spawned this whole Get Happy podcast, I talk about benevolent capitalism. I believe it's in the 3rd or 4th chapter, and I break it down because you guys have done it so beautifully. Because I would get the same response anytime I said it. They're like, what are you talking about? Those two words don't go together. So if you were going to explain to the layperson what benevolent capitalism was for them to understand, how would you speak to that?
Well, if you start to look at the origin of words, it makes a lot more sense. So benevolent comes from 2 ancient Greek words. One is bene and the other is volent. Bene as in beneficent and beneficial, and bene means wishing well. And then volent, and that's where words like voluntary, volunteer have come from. So wishing well for all is what bene and volent mean. So wishing well for all. And then capitalism comes from a very, very ancient term that used to mean per capita, per head, usually per head of cattle. And it was used to describe those people who would organically grow their herd of cattle or pigs or sheep or whatever it might be. So when you put the two words together, wishing well for all whilst organically growing, nails it. That's really what it's about. Now it's been hijacked over since about the 1930s, where benevolent has come to mean thou art less than I am. I will give you money so that I can feel better about helping you out. So so the whole notion of benevolent has unfortunately morphed into almost a description of we shall succor the poor and the ill, sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And capitalism, of course, since the 1930s and the various economists that were popular in those days up to this day, is capitalism is all about shareholders and increasing the wealth of the few.
Right.
So, and it's not true. So the true benevolent capitalists are those who never have to talk about it. And every one of us is in fact a benevolent capitalist if we choose that. It's very easy to choose, and most people will refuse to choose it. So what if we were willing to be benevolent and organically growing, whatever it is that we want to be growing, and wishing well for all at the same time? The world would have to be a better place.
And it is not about charity either. Sometimes people, when they heard us talk about benevolence or benevolent, they immediately go into charitable organizations.
Giving money away.
Yeah, I can see where that would. It's true though, but sometimes it's a matter of just your time or
the less fortunate
of those. Yeah. Being benevolent. Hang on. Hi.
Yeah, we lost just a second. The internet, but go ahead. I can edit it out. So just pick up where you were.
Well, you had a question. What was that?
Oh, I was going to say that for me personally, if I know that I can gift some time to a situation to make it greater, then because it doesn't just make it greater for them or myself. I look into the future. If I choose this, what will it create in 5 years? If I choose to make the time to do this, or if someone is asking, because if someone's not asking, then it's not a kindness to, impale them with your point of view or whatever it is that you're perceiving or having an awareness about their world. But I found that when I take those moments and say, what's required here, and it's not something that's going to actually contribute money to me or to them or whatever it is, but it contributes an energy that creates most. And to me, that's being a benevolent capitalist. Do I have that right?
Yes.
Yeah, and
Well,
then the other component is being benevolent capitalist also is knowing when to walk away.
True.
So it's all of that. What would create greater in the world? It would create greater if I shut up and walked away. Perfect. Then you do that without any judgment, without any expectation. So it's really is what would create greater for everyone concerned, wishing well for all, that would actually create something greater into the future. Capitalism.
And that's exactly what you said, Ro, that it's very much about energy. For us, it's about be a catalyst for change, for different possibilities. So when we made a choice to engage the power of benevolence, to be a consultant or to be in the world, in the business or in the world, we made the deliberate choice to be the catalyst for change. And what that means for us is we don't actually force people to have to get what we are saying, but we create a space for people to see different possibilities and invite them to see different possibilities. So we're not trying to force them to, you must receive it. A lot of people go into the space of, what's the word? Evangelism, that this is the way and this is the only way. And if you don't choose it,
you're wrong.
You're wrong.
Yeah.
What we are saying is, if you're not enjoying creating the way this reality is creating at the moment, from scarcity and lack and not enough, what if you realize that you can create something totally different from generosity of spirit, from prosperity, from wealth, from possibilities? So benevolent capitalism, or become a benevolent capitalist, is about functioning from generosity of spirit and from allowing everyone and the world to create something totally different.
Yeah, and with no point of view.
Sorry?
I said, and with no point of view of what they choose,
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
That.
And that's tied to the question you asked us, what makes us happy?
I can already perceive that this work makes you very happy. How do you get your happy on? What else do you do to get your happy on? I think you're not Chutisa.
You have so many things to say. Yeah.
Well, to me, the greatest happiness is when I have no point of view about something. And so, for example, Chutisa and I, we've been married for a long, 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 long time, 46 years. And every day is a new day for us. So quite honestly, every day I wake up to a different woman. And you never know what the day is. And you have no point of view about what the day was, because yesterday doesn't exist. You have an awareness of it, but it is nothing. So, what can we create today? What grand and glorious adventure can we create today? We usually, Chutisa and I, after I've made her a cup of coffee, sit down and say, okay, so what do we want to create now? Does this still read? Does this still read? So we actually have a chat in the morning. And then during the day, because we've got two different offices, I've got one that's way at the back of our property. Chutisa's got the one that's actually in the house itself. And so we communicate by telephone.
You're in a shed somewhere?
Yeah, no, we've got office pods. I've built some office pods out the back there. by I mean people who know how to build. Not me. And so when I'm feeling particularly energetic, I'll come the 2.5 seconds to walk up to her room. So we get our happy on because we don't dwell on the past. We have gratitude for what has been and excitement for what can be.
And we meet for happy hour. Since we've been locked down for 8 or 9 months in Melbourne, about 5:30 we meet for a happy hour dinner.
I'll often get a call, Steve, it's happy hour.
It's a happy hour.
Oh, damn, where did the time go?
I love it. What if every hour could be happy hour?
Exactly.
Oh, that'd be an awful lot of alcohol.
No, when we go a happy hour, I mean a happy hour of sharing champagne or prosecco or some
Prosecco, Negroni, spritzer,
or something like that. I think if we have happy hour like that every moment of the day, we might be beyond.
Yes, well, I wasn't really suggesting that on the hour you have a drink, but I'm just suggesting
But I do like the way you're thinking.
oh, well then, however you'd like to choose it, my dear. However, no point of view here, I promise you. It's kind of funny because in the States now, day drinking has become socially acceptable, So I've learned. So it's like I'll have Zoom calls with my clients or whatever, and then I'm like, are you having a beer? They're like, well, yeah, it's 6 o'clock somewhere in the world. I'm like, and it's not that I'm having a judgment when I say it. It's just I find it funny because it didn't used to be that way.
Well, they could be honorary Australians then. I mean, you've heard the thing that they describe Australians. Oh, that person's drunk. No, they're not. They're just Australian.
That's
Well, our accent.
Just for those of you that are listening in the future, we are during the pandemic lockdown. I was teasing with the Bowmans earlier that I actually dress every day. I actually dress around my jewelry, if you can believe it. It's kind of a funny thing, but all the way down to my shoes, I dress. And yet during this pandemic, there have been a lot of interesting clothing choices from the waist down, I've noticed. So, including a couple of the people that I've interviewed with Access Consciousness, where they'd stand up later and I'm going, okay, I'm going to have to edit that out. So it's all good. It's all good. I have a purely selfish question, if I may. I'm always curious to know how people discovered Access. So is there a story?
Yes. Well, I think it's 19 or 20 years ago, I was still working as a corporate executive. So I went to the conference meeting in Sydney, Australia. Mm-hmm. So next to my conference building, there was Mind, Body, and Spirit show happening. And so I was like a very much meditator, spiritual in the closet. And I was wearing, the suit and things. So I thought, at lunchtime, I'm just going to go and have a look at Mind, Body, and Spirit show. And at that show, the Access has a booth that displaying, bars, and all those sort of things. And Gary was giving presentation. So I went in to listen to him. Yeah. And I've never heard of Access. I've never heard of him, but there was such a major pull to be there. So when I went in there, and the thing that really hooked me in, that wanted me to hear more, is when he said, if you are willing to lose everything, you can have everything. Mm-hmm. So that comment alone made me seek out the Access booth, and I found the booth, and they were running bars, and I wasn't quite sure what that was. But
yeah, just
anyway,
for those of you that don't know, Access Bars is a modality that Gary Douglas channeled. It's 32 points on the head that when you gently touch them in different configurations, it's kind of like a reset button in a sense. It gets rid of all these thoughts, feelings, and emotions that don't actually resonate with your body. So it's kind of like dumping that stuff off of your body. So you get lighter in a sense. But I just wanted to say, because a lot of people, yeah. So please continue. Yeah, I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah. And so I went and received bars, and I connected with Gary then. And then I started going to all classes. and I went immediately, you know, like everyone else, once you got to experience access, you become like, oh, I want more, I would like more. So immediately I went to 7 days in Costa Rica. I did all these things because I really did enjoy the philosophy of being, uh, you know, that's so different. And I was spiritual seeker and meditator for a long time. And because working in corporate world, I I needed meditation. So I used to meditate in the mornings to allow me to go and deal in the corporate jungle. That was the only thing I knew that did help me. But as soon as I found access consciousness, and as soon as I was you know, talking to Gary, and I have the tools to allow me to uh, change the energy and the situation with who I was choosing to be. From that space, I immediately knew that I didn't have to sit and meditate for
Right.
2 hours every day. I could actually be the greatness that I could truly be with the tools that I have. So I love the idea that I could use these tools and have these tools with me and be these tools
Right.
all the time. And at the beginning, I was using the tools because that was I was trained to know you have the tool, you use the tools. But being there for a while, I became the tools. And, you know, and the more I became the tools, the happier I become. You know, I got truly happy in being who I am choosing to be. And the first thing that Gary invited me to see is, you know, embody and be the greatness that I could truly be. No one ever invited me to embody and be the greatness that I could truly be.
True story.
You know, no one ever said that. No one ever said that I could embody and be the greatness I truly be, because I came from well, my background is Thai. And I came from the space that you need to be humble and you need to, you know, like act like you just not, you don't go around and boasting about anything. So I misapply of embody and be the greatness as to truly be as being obnoxious and walking around boasting. So from that space, Gary invited me to see that that's not the same. You can embody and be the greatness that you truly be and still be generosity of spirit, humble, and everything else. So that's how it started.
Erudite and mellifluous is one thing he described her as.
I wasn't. I saw myself. I couldn't speak. I had trouble. I don't like talking in public. I don't. So I was hiding behind my books for a long time.
Okay, so this is how you met Gary, but where was Steve in all of this? Did he think you had
Oh,
joined?
you can tell.
I mean, what?
Okay, so when Chutisa said she was a seeker, she was spiritual, then I was the opposite end. I was, and yeah, not interested in seeking, not interested in spiritual things of any sort. I can't even sit cross-legged, let alone meditate. So
or attended any workshop from
never
that
attended
space.
never attended any workshops, really not interested in that. So I got a call one day and from Chutisa, who was up at one of Gary's classes, and I'll probably get some of this story wrong, but you'll
no, it's fine.
And she said, "Hey, look, I'd like you to come up and meet Gary Douglas." I said, "Sure. I mean, whatever she wants is. I know there's always something that could be greater in what she's suggesting." So I hopped on a plane. I was in between assignments. Hopped on a plane, went up and sat with Gary. I think it was in Brisbane or somewhere. Yeah. And
many years ago.
And he started talking business. So I thought, yeah, I'll be with him for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, something like that. Well, 3.5 hours later, because we just hit it off, absolutely hit it off. And as he said, it's probably the first time he got to talk about his point of view about business and being in a world of judgment when it comes to business. So
someone who can truly receive his different point of view about business and able to take it and share it with the world, kind of thing.
Next day I had a conference. I was speaking in front of 2,000 CEOs about something or other. So I said, I'm going to have fun with this. So I got up on stage and I used corporate speak to talk about access tools. Got a standing ovation. People loved it. But what I got the most fun was I came back and I told Gary about it a couple of days later, and you could see this little smile on his face. It was so cute.
I can only imagine. Yeah, we know the Gary smirk when he's truly happy.
Yeah.
He's such a generous
So,
man. How do you take the tools of access and make them sound corporate? Is my question.
well, I mean, you can talk. I mean, what's strategy? Strategy is about creating the futures that we know could be possible by unlocking the wisdom that we know we can, by getting over the limitations that we don't even know we have.
You're good.
And there goes the day just around that.
Right.
And then risk management is always looking at what can I create from this rather than this is a compliance issue.
What can I create?
Everything is the opposite of everything is the opposite of what it appears to be, and nothing is the opposite of what it appears to be. That's what we call innovation.
Right. That's brilliant. I'm sorry.
That's awesome stuff.
My cells are dancing because it makes so much sense. No wonder they give you a standing ovation. You're getting my happy on right now. I love it. I love it. So from what I understand, every morning you're with a different woman. You actually like each other and you celebrate happy hour. Is there anything else you would want to share that helps you get your happy hour?
I don't know whether you have heard that story when Steve said that every morning he's with a new woman. Yeah. Well, when many years ago, I don't know why my telephone is pinging a lot today, but it is.
You're so
many years ago, our 27th anniversary. So that's many years ago, right? We're now 44, going to 45. So we were at the conference, and that day we were celebrating our 27th anniversary. And people keep coming up to us and said, oh, gee, that's great. But we used to have that. We know so many people, but 27 is, as soon as you hit that, downhill from there. Like this is talking about non-happiness, walking, queuing up to tell us. So I thought, oh, gee, that's interesting point of view. To ourselves.
Right out of my mouth. I mean, who
yeah.
goes up to somebody and tells them, oh, that's great, but from now on it's going to be downhill from here?
No, is that people love that. People love to actually, rain on your parade. I'll just use the better word. Rain on your parade.
We even had the situation, I think our daughter was 7 or 8, something like that, and came to us one day and said, Mummy, Daddy, when are you leaving each other?
Yeah, everyone else in her school was. I said, okay, destroy and create of that. Anyway, so Gary was talking in those years about, if you destroy and create your relationship every day, you can create new relationship every day. So I said to Steve, hey, let's use that.
She was at a class by herself. She came back very excited and said, hey, let's use this to destroy and uncreate our relationship. I had no idea what she meant.
That's before you met Gary. I said, look,
and I said,
Steve,
sure, let's do it.
Gary talked about we can create ourselves new every day.
He's like, whatever you want, honey. Whatever you want, honey. We'll just destroy and create each other every day in your life.
Exactly. So we did. We destroy and create our relationship every day. We destroy and create our relationship with our business, our relationship with ourselves, with everyone. Mm-hmm. And that has been the thing that brings happiness into our life, because by using or being that tools alone, how could you be unhappy? Because you create yourself new every day.
True.
You're only unhappy when you bring the past reference point about anything that you're unhappy about.
When something doesn't meet what you've already decided it should be, you become unhappy.
Yes.
Oh, where's the choice there? There's no, that's what we call a choiceless universe, listeners. When you've already decided based on your past And then you can't create beyond that. I mean, I wake up and do the same thing. I destroy and create with myself, actually, and then my cat and my mom and my businesses and this reality, the list goes on and on. And I actually can perceive me getting lighter as I do it. And even when I have clients come to visit me directly, because it still happens, well, Tennessee is a red state, so is Houston. Anyway, so the lockdown hasn't been as severe, but I still have clients that come see me, and I always destroy and uncreate with them before they come in the door. And it does create more
Absolutely.
space, So
It's a great tool that if no one have heard about it, I'm sure you can create another session just talking about it. You can fill the whole hour about destroy and uncreate, really, because Steve and I, since we made the choice to destroy and uncreate our relationship with everyone and everything, including our clients, our daughters, our new granddaughter that we have, we just create a new space and a new day every day. And like for people who haven't heard of Access mantra, like all of life come to me with ease, joy, and glory, I say that every day after I destroy and uncreate, my relationship with everyone and everything. And I also create myself new every day by saying, who am I today? And what grand and glorious adventure could I be having on this day? Because just by saying that, we press the delete button to delete all of the energetic connection to, of the past, of the judgment, of the energy that create trauma and drama in our life from the past. So those are fantastic tools that I have been using for the past 20 years. So that's bring me the joy and happiness.
And it is just a choice, y'all. You don't have to choose it. Like you can choose cranky pants if you'd rather. If that's, where you want to go. And if you have to do that, indulge in it for a while. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But just know that in every 10 seconds, you can choose happy again. And we've talked about a few of these tools. And I love that you brought up this one about destroying and uncreating. It doesn't make sense when you first hear it, but it is this subtle, energetic way of recreating yourself and the relationships you have, the creationships you have, in every 10 seconds. And what will that create for the future?
Well, it allows you to be present with what is and not try and create what you want.
Very well put. Oh my goddess, I need to take one of your classes, dude. I mean, I have taken some online ones with you both over the pandemic, but I need to do the full Monty when that comes up. Because I'm jonesing for it now. My body is like going, yes, it's singing. All right, folks.
We really love to hear more about your story too. You have multiple stream of possibilities that there's a few things you told me about. It's ping with me, like, of your producing and directing and singing and all these sort of things. So what would it take for us to meet in person one day in the near future?
I would love to co-create with you too. Believe me, I can perceive the juiciness already, and anything that I can be as a contribution, I'm there.
Thank you.
You can count on me. I've got your back.
Awesome. So lovely to chat to you, and we really enjoyed this so much. Steve have another meeting, so
thank you for taking the time. Really and truly, this has been so delightful. And thank you, listeners. If you've enjoyed this conversation, please hit the like button underneath and share with anyone else that you can perceive would be able to receive this and enjoy it, and maybe they need to get their happy on. So thanks again, Chutisa and Steven. Thank you so much. I look forward to the day that I can hug your juicy bodies.
Love that.
Thanks,
Love
Rudrani.
that. Thank you, Rudrani.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Ciao, ciao for now.
Bye.